Have you ever felt like there's more to life than what meets the eye? Like there's a deeper meaning behind everything, just waiting to be discovered? Well, you're not alone. Today, we're diving into some incredible spiritual ideas that could completely change the way you see the world. These aren't complicated rituals or hard to understand concepts. They're simple truths that have the power to help you grow, find peace, and unlock your true potential. Now, you might be thinking, why should I care about spiritual stuff? Here's the thing. If you don't know these spiritual basics, you might feel lost or stuck in life. It's like trying to navigate a big city without a map. You might end up going in circles, never really getting where you want to go. But once you understand these spiritual truths, it's like someone handed you that map. Suddenly, everything starts to make sense. You'll see the world in a whole new way, and you'll have the tools to create the life you've always dreamed of. I know it might sound a bit overwhelming at first. After all, spirituality is a big topic, and there's a lot to learn. But don't worry. We're going to break it down into simple, easy to understand ideas. And the best part? You don't need any special knowledge or skills to get started. All you need is an open mind and a willingness to try something new. Now, let's get into the first spiritual truth that you need to know. It's a big one, so buckle up. Have you ever looked up at the stars and felt really, really small? Or maybe you've watched a nature documentary and been amazed at how perfectly everything in an ecosystem works together. Well, there's a reason for that feeling. It's because everything in the universe is connected. And I mean everything. Think about it this way. Every single thing in the universe, from the tiniest atom to the biggest galaxy, is made up of energy. This energy is always moving, always changing, but it never really goes away. It just transforms from one thing to another. Scientists have known this for a long time, but spiritual traditions have been talking about it for thousands of years. So what does this mean for you? Well, it means that you're not just a separate person, living your life all alone. You're a part of something much, much bigger. You're connected to every other person on the planet, to every animal, to every plant, even to the earth itself. It's like we're all different leaves on the same giant tree. This idea of connection can change the way you look at everything. For example, have you ever done something nice for someone and then felt really good about it afterward? That's because when you help others, you're actually helping yourself too. It's all connected, remember? Or think about how your mood can affect the people around you. Have you ever noticed that when you're in a bad mood, it seems like everyone else gets grumpy too? And when you're happy and smiling, people tend to smile back? That's the power of connection at work. Understanding that everything is connected can also help us be more mindful of our actions. If we know that what we do affects everything else, we might think twice before doing something harmful. It's like throwing a stone into a pond. The ripples spread out and affect the whole pond, not just the spot where the stone landed. So how can you start living with this idea of connection in mind? It's actually pretty simple. Start by being more aware of how your actions affect others. When you're about to do or say something, take a moment to think, how will this affect the people around me? How will it affect my community? How will it affect the world? You can also try to be kinder to strangers. Remember, they're connected to you too, even if you don't know them. A simple smile or a kind word can brighten someone's day, and that positive energy will spread out into the world. Another great way to practice this is to spend time in nature. Go for a walk in the park or sit under a tree. Really pay attention to everything around you. the plants, the animals, the air, the soil. Try to feel your connection to all of it. You might be surprised at how peaceful and grounded it makes you feel. Remember, this idea of connection doesn't mean you're not unique or special. You absolutely are. It just means that your uniqueness is part of a bigger whole. You're like a single beautiful note in the grand symphony of the universe. Understanding that everything is connected can be a powerful tool for personal growth. It can help you feel less alone, more compassionate, and more responsible for your actions. It can give you a sense of belonging and purpose. And most importantly, it can help you see the magic and wonder in everyday life. So the next time you look up at those stars, remember, you're not small at all. You're a vital part of something unimaginably vast and beautiful. And that's pretty amazing, isn't it? Now, let's move on to the second spiritual truth, and this one might just blow your mind. Are you ready? Here it is. Your thoughts shape your reality. That's right. The thoughts in your head have the power to change the world around you. I know what you're thinking. Come on, that can't be true. My thoughts are just in my head. They can't actually change anything in the real world. But hear me out, because this idea is backed up by both ancient wisdom and modern science. Let's start with a simple example. Have you ever woken up in a bad mood, thinking it was going to be a terrible day? And then, surprise, surprise, you had a terrible day. Everything seemed to go wrong. People were rude to you, and nothing worked out the way you wanted. But was it really the day that was terrible, or was it your expectation and perception that made it seem that way? On the flip side, have you ever started your day feeling great, thinking it was going to be an awesome day, and then you had a fantastic day where everything seemed to go right, people were nice to you, opportunities popped up out of nowhere, and you felt on top of the world? Was it just luck, or did your positive thoughts help create that positive reality? The truth is, our thoughts have a huge impact on how we experience the world. They affect our mood, our actions, and even our physical bodies. When we think positive thoughts, we tend to feel happier and more confident. This makes us more likely to take positive actions, which then lead to positive results. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. But it goes even deeper than that. Our thoughts actually shape the way we see the world. Have you ever bought a new car and suddenly you start seeing that same car everywhere? The cars were always there, but now your brain is tuned to notice them. In the same way, if you're always thinking about problems and negative things, guess what? You're going to notice more problems and negative things in your life. Now, this doesn't mean that you can just think, I want $1 million, and it will magically appear. Although, who knows? Stranger things have happened. What it does mean is that your thoughts set the direction for your life. They influence your beliefs, your actions, and ultimately, your results. For example, if you constantly think, I'm not good enough, or I'll never succeed, you're probably not going to take risks or try new things. You might give up easily when faced with challenges, and as a result, you might not achieve the things you want in life. But if you think, I am capable, or I can learn and grow, you're more likely to take on challenges. You'll probably keep trying even when things get tough. And in the end, you're much more likely to succeed. This idea that thoughts shape reality isn't just some feel-good spiritual concept. It's actually backed up by science. Researchers have found that our thoughts can change the structure of our brains, a process called neuroplasticity. positive thoughts can strengthen certain neural pathways, making it easier for us to think positively in the future. Negative thoughts can do the opposite. Scientists have also found that our thoughts can affect our physical health. Positive thoughts can boost our immune system, lower stress levels, and even help us heal faster. Negative thoughts, on the other hand, can increase stress and make us more susceptible to illness. So how can you use this knowledge to improve your life? It starts with becoming aware of your thoughts. Many of us go through life on autopilot, not really paying attention to what we're thinking. But if you want to shape your reality, you need to know what thoughts are running through your head. Try this. For the next few days, pay close attention to your thoughts. You might even want to write them down. Are they mostly positive or negative? Are they helping you move towards your goals, or are they holding you back? Once you're aware of your thoughts, you can start to change them. This doesn't mean you should ignore negative thoughts or pretend everything is perfect. It's about finding a balanced, realistic perspective that helps you grow and achieve your goals. If you catch yourself thinking something negative, try to reframe it in a more positive or neutral way. For example, instead of "I'm terrible at this," try "I'm still learning and improving." Instead of "this always happens to me," try "this is a challenge, but I can handle it." Another powerful tool is gratitude. Taking time each day to think about things you're grateful for can shift your focus to the positive aspects of your life. This can help create a more positive mindset overall. Visualization is another great technique. Athletes often use this to improve their performance. They imagine themselves performing perfectly, and this mental practice actually helps them do better in real life. You can use the same technique for any goal in your life. Remember, changing your thoughts isn't always easy. Our brains are wired to notice potential threats and problems. It's a survival mechanism from way back when we had to worry about being eaten by tigers. So don't get discouraged if you find yourself slipping into negative thought patterns. It's normal. The key is to keep practicing, to keep redirecting your thoughts in a more positive direction. Also, this doesn't mean you should ignore real problems or pretend everything is perfect when it's not. It's about finding a balanced, realistic perspective that helps you grow and achieve your goals. Sometimes, acknowledging a problem is the first step to solving it. The key is to approach challenges with a mindset of, "How can I solve this?" rather than, "This is hopeless." As you practice shaping your thoughts, you'll start to notice changes in your life. You might feel happier and more confident. You might find yourself taking more positive actions and achieving more of your goals. You might even notice that the world around you seems to become more positive and supportive. Remember, your thoughts are powerful. They're the seeds from which your reality grows. So choose them wisely, nurture the positive ones, and watch as your world transforms around you. It might not happen overnight, but with patience and practice, you have the power to create the reality you want. Now, let's dive into the third spiritual truth, and this one is a game changer. It's a simple idea, but it has the power to completely transform your life. Are you ready? Here it is. The present moment is all we have. Think about it for a second. The past is gone. It's just memories now. The future hasn't happened yet. It's just our imagination. The only thing that's real, the only thing we can actually experience and interact with is this present moment. But how often do we actually live in the present moment? For most of us, our minds are constantly time traveling. We're reliving past events, worrying about future problems, or daydreaming about what might happen someday. We're everywhere except here and now. Let me give you an example. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone, but your mind was somewhere else entirely? Maybe you were thinking about something that happened earlier, or planning what you're going to do later. Suddenly, you realize the other person has stopped talking and is looking at you expectantly. You have no idea what they just said because you weren't really there. Sound familiar? Or how about this? Have you ever arrived at your destination and realized you don't remember the journey at all? You were on autopilot. Your body was driving the car, but your mind was 1,000,000 miles away. These are examples of not being present in the moment. Now you might be thinking, so what? What's wrong with thinking about the past or planning for the future? And you're right, there's nothing inherently wrong with it. Reflecting on the past can help us learn from our experiences. Planning for the future is important too. The problem comes when we spend so much time in the past or future that we miss out on the present. You see, life doesn't happen in the past or the future. Life happens now, in this moment. When we're constantly focused on what was or what might be, we miss out on what is. We miss out on the beauty of a sunset because we're too busy checking our phones. We miss out on the joy of playing with our kids because we're worrying about work. We miss out on the simple pleasure of a good meal because we're rushing to get to the next thing. Being present in the moment isn't just about not missing out, though. It's also about reducing stress and anxiety. Think about it. Most of our worries and fears are about things that happened in the past or might happen in the future. When we focus on the present moment, a lot of that anxiety melts away. Living in the present can also help us make better decisions. When we're fully aware of what's happening right now, we can respond more effectively to situations as they arise. We're not clouded by past regrets or future fears. We can see things more clearly and act more wisely. So how can we learn to live more in the present moment? It's not always easy, especially in our fast-paced, constantly connected world. But there are some simple practices that can help. One of the most powerful tools for living in the present is mindfulness. Mindfulness is simply the practice of being aware of what's happening right now without judgment. It's about paying attention to your thoughts, feelings, and surroundings in the present moment. You can practice mindfulness anytime, anywhere. For example, when you're eating, really pay attention to your food. Notice the colors, the smells, the textures, the tastes. When you're walking, feel the ground under your feet, the air on your skin, the movement of your body. When you're talking to someone, really listen to what they're saying. Notice their expressions, their tone of voice. Another great way to practice being present is through meditation. Now, don't worry if you've never meditated before. It's not about emptying your mind or achieving some special state. It's simply about sitting quietly and focusing on the present moment, usually by paying attention to your breath. You can start with just a few minutes a day. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. When your mind wanders, and it will, gently bring your attention back to your breath. That's it. It's simple, but it's not always easy. Our minds are used to wandering, so it takes practice to stay focused on the present. Another helpful technique is to use your senses to anchor yourself in the present moment. When you find your mind wandering, try this. Stop and name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This simple exercise brings your attention back to the present moment and what's happening around you. You can also try incorporating mindfulness into your daily activities. When you're washing dishes, for example, really focus on the sensation of the water, the smell of the soap, the sound of the dishes clinking. When you're brushing your teeth, pay attention to the taste of the toothpaste, the sensation of the brush on your teeth, the sound of the water running. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds great, but I have a busy life. I have responsibilities. I can't just sit around being mindful all day. And you're absolutely right. The goal isn't to be mindful every second of every day. It's about finding moments throughout your day to come back to the present. Start small. Maybe set a reminder on your phone to take 3 deep breaths and notice your surroundings once an hour. Or try to eat 1 meal a day mindfully without distractions. As you practice, you'll find it becomes easier to stay present more often. Remember, living in the present moment doesn't mean you never think about the past or plan for the future. It's about finding a balance. Use the past for learning. Use the future for setting goals, but live in the present. It's also important to note that being present doesn't mean you'll always feel happy or peaceful. Sometimes the present moment is uncomfortable or painful. But by being fully present, even in difficult times, we can respond more effectively and grow from our experiences. As you practice living in the present moment, you might start to notice some changes. Colors might seem brighter. Food might taste better. You might find more joy in simple things. You might feel less stressed and more content. You might even find that time seems to slow down a bit. Living in the present moment is a powerful spiritual truth because it connects us to the reality of our lives. It helps us appreciate the beauty and wonder that's all around us all the time. It helps us connect more deeply with others. And it helps us live more fully and authentically. So next time you find your mind wandering to the past or future, gently bring it back to the present. Take a deep breath, look around you, listen, feel, taste, smell, be here now, because this moment right now is your life. And it's pretty amazing when you really pay attention to it. When we talk about spiritual truths, there's one that stands out above all others. It's a force so powerful that it can move mountains, change lives, and transform the world. What is this incredible force? It's love. Now I know what you might be thinking. Love? Really? Isn't that a bit cheesy? But hang on a second. When we talk about love as a spiritual truth, we're not just talking about romance or warm, fuzzy feelings. We're talking about something much deeper and more profound. In many spiritual traditions, love is seen as the fundamental energy of the universe. It's the force that connects all things, that creates and sustains life. Some even say that love is what we're made of at our core. Pretty mind-blowing, right? But let's bring it down to earth a bit. How does this idea of love as the most powerful force play out in our everyday lives? Well, think about the times in your life when you felt truly loved. Maybe it was a hug from a parent when you were scared, or a friend standing by you during a tough time. Maybe it was the unconditional love of a pet, or a random act of kindness from a stranger. How did that love make you feel? Stronger? Braver? More whole? That's the power of love. It has the ability to heal, to comfort, to inspire. It can give us strength when we're weak, courage when we're afraid, and hope when we're in despair. Love can mend broken relationships, bring peace to conflicts, and bridge the gaps that divide us. But love isn't just about receiving, it's also about giving. And here's where it gets really interesting. The more love we give, the more we have. Unlike material things, love multiplies when we share it. Have you ever noticed how good it feels to do something kind for someone else? That warm glow you get inside, that's love in action. Now, when we talk about love as a spiritual force, we're not just talking about romantic love or even the love between family and friends. We're talking about a broader, more inclusive kind of love. It's a love that extends to all people, to animals, to nature, even to those we might consider our enemies. It's what some traditions call universal love or compassion. This kind of love doesn't mean you have to like everyone or approve of everything they do. It's more about recognizing the basic humanity in everyone, understanding that we're all connected and treating others with kindness and respect. So how can we bring more of this powerful force of love into our lives? It starts with self-love. Many of us are our own harshest critics. We beat ourselves up over every mistake, every perceived flaw. But imagine if you treated yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you'd offer to a good friend. That's self-love. And it's the foundation for all other forms of love. Once we've cultivated self-love, we can start extending that love outward. It can be as simple as smiling at a stranger, offering a sincere compliment, or really listening when someone needs to talk. It can be volunteering for a cause you care about, or standing up for someone who's being treated unfairly. One powerful practice is loving kindness meditation. In this practice, you start by directing feelings of love and good wishes toward yourself. Then you gradually expand those feelings to include your loved ones, your acquaintances, even people you find difficult, and eventually all beings. It might feel a bit awkward at first, but with practice, it can be a powerful way to cultivate love and compassion. Remember, love isn't always easy. Sometimes it means having difficult conversations, setting boundaries, or letting go of relationships that aren't healthy. Love doesn't mean being a doormat or ignoring problems. True love, for ourselves and others, sometimes requires tough decisions and hard work. But here's the thing, even when love is challenging, it's worth it. Because love has the power to transform not just our personal lives, but our whole world. Imagine if we approached our biggest problems, poverty, climate change, conflict, with love and compassion instead of fear and anger. What might we be able to achieve? So the next time you're faced with a challenge, try approaching it with love. The next time you're tempted to judge someone, try to understand them instead. The next time you have a chance to show kindness, take it. Because love truly is the most powerful force in the universe, and we all have the ability to tap into it. Now let's explore another fundamental spiritual truth that can completely change the way you view your life experiences. Are you ready? Here it is. We're here to learn and grow. Think about it for a moment. What if life isn't just a random series of events, but a carefully crafted curriculum designed to help us evolve and become the best versions of ourselves? What if every experience, good or bad, is an opportunity for growth? This idea isn't new. Many spiritual traditions see life as a kind of school for the soul. They believe that we're here on earth to learn important lessons and develop our spiritual qualities. But you don't have to be religious or traditionally spiritual to find value in this perspective. Let's start with the good times. When things are going well, when we're happy and successful, it's easy to grow. We're confident, we're open to new experiences, we're willing to take risks. These positive experiences help us develop our talents, build relationships, and expand our understanding of what's possible. But what about the tough times? The failures, the heartbreaks, the losses? Well, this is where the real growth happens. It's like working out at the gym. The resistance is what builds our strength. In the same way, life's challenges are what build our character and wisdom. Think back to a difficult time in your life. Maybe it was a breakup, losing a job, or facing a health crisis. At the time, it probably felt awful. But looking back now, can you see how you grew from that experience? Maybe you became stronger, more resilient. Maybe you learned important lessons about yourself or about life. Maybe that challenge led you down a new path that turned out to be better than you could have imagined. This doesn't mean that we should seek out suffering or that we shouldn't try to solve problems. It just means that when challenges do come, and they will, we can approach them with a different mindset. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" Logically, we can ask, "What can I learn from this?" Now you might be thinking, that's all well and good, but what exactly are we supposed to be learning? Well, the specifics might be different for each person, but in general, life tends to present us with opportunities to develop qualities like patience, compassion, courage, wisdom, and love. For example, dealing with a difficult person might be teaching you patience and understanding. Facing a fear might be an opportunity to develop courage. Experiencing loss might be teaching you about impermanence and the importance of appreciating what you have. One powerful way to approach life as a learning experience is to practice self-reflection. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to think about what happened and what you learned. What went well? What was challenging? How did you grow? What might you do differently next time? You can also look for the lessons in everyday situations. Stuck in traffic? Maybe it's an opportunity to practice patience. Had an argument with someone? Maybe it's a chance to improve your communication skills or practice forgiveness. Another important aspect of this spiritual truth is the idea of personal responsibility. If we're here to learn and grow, then we're responsible for our own development. We can't control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we respond. We can choose to learn and grow from our experiences, or we can resist and remain stuck. This doesn't mean we should blame ourselves for every bad thing that happens. Sometimes life throws us curveballs that we couldn't have predicted or prevented. But even in those situations, we can choose how we respond and what we take away from the experience. It's also important to remember that growth isn't always comfortable. In fact, it's often uncomfortable. Growth means stepping out of our comfort zones, facing our fears, and challenging our assumptions. It might mean admitting we were wrong, forgiving someone who hurt us, or letting go of something we've outgrown. But here's the amazing thing. As we learn and grow, life tends to get better. Not because our external circumstances necessarily change, although they might, but because we change. We become more resilient, more understanding, more at peace with ourselves and the world around us. This perspective can also help us be more compassionate towards others. If we're all here to learn and grow, then we're all at different stages of our journey. The person who cuts you off in traffic or says something unkind might just be facing a tough lesson right now. This doesn't excuse bad behavior, but it can help us respond with understanding rather than anger. So how can you start living with this idea that we're here to learn and grow? Start by being curious about your experiences. When something happens, good or bad, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Look for patterns in your life. Are there lessons that keep showing up? Those might be important areas for growth. Be open to new experiences and challenges. Remember, that's how we grow. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are some of our best teachers if we're willing to learn from them. Finally, be patient with yourself and others. Growth takes time. We don't always get it right the first time, or the second, or the third. But each attempt, each failure, is actually a step forward if we learn from it. Remember, you are a work in progress, and that's a beautiful thing. Every day is a new opportunity to learn, to grow, to become a better version of yourself. Embrace the journey with all its ups and downs, knowing that each experience is shaping you into the person you're meant to be. Now, let's dive into one of the most powerful, yet often misunderstood, spiritual truths. Forgiveness sets us free. This might sound simple, but it's a principle that has the potential to completely transform your life and bring you a level of peace you might never have thought possible. First, let's clear up a common misconception. Forgiveness doesn't mean saying that what happened was okay. It doesn't mean forgetting about it or pretending it didn't hurt. And it certainly doesn't mean allowing someone to keep hurting you. Forgiveness is something much deeper and more powerful than that. At its core, forgiveness is about letting go. It's about releasing the heavy burden of anger, resentment, and hurt that we carry when we've been wronged. It's about freeing ourselves from the past so we can fully live in the present and move forward into the future. Think about a time when someone hurt you deeply. Maybe they betrayed your trust, said something cruel, or did something that caused you pain. How did you feel? Angry, hurt, betrayed? Those feelings are natural and valid. But what happens when we hold on to those feelings for weeks, months, or even years? Holding on to anger and resentment is like carrying around a heavy backpack full of rocks. It weighs us down. It affects our mood, our relationships, our health, and our overall quality of life. We might think we're punishing the other person by not forgiving them, but in reality, we're the ones suffering. Here's a powerful analogy. Not forgiving is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. The anger and bitterness we hold on to hurts us far more than it hurts the person who wronged us. In fact, they might not even know or care that we're still upset. So why is forgiveness so difficult? Well, for one thing, it can feel like we're letting the other person off the hook. We might think that by forgiving, we're saying what they did was okay. But remember, forgiveness isn't about the other person. It's about you. It's about your healing, your peace of mind, your freedom. Another reason forgiveness can be challenging is that we often confuse it with reconciliation. Forgiveness is something you do for yourself in your own heart and mind. Reconciliation, on the other hand, involves rebuilding a relationship with the person who hurt you. Sometimes that's possible and desirable, but sometimes it's not, and that's okay. You can forgive someone without having them back in your life. So how do we actually practice forgiveness? It's not always easy, and it's often a process rather than a one-time event. But here are some steps you can take. First, acknowledge your feelings. It's important to be honest with yourself about how you've been hurt. Don't try to minimize it or brush it off. Allow yourself to feel the pain, the anger, the sadness, or whatever emotions come up. Next, try to see the situation from a wider perspective. This doesn't mean excusing bad behavior, but trying to understand it. Often, people who hurt others are acting from their own pain or fear. This understanding can help soften our hearts and make forgiveness easier. Then, make a conscious decision to forgive. This is a choice you make for your own well-being. You might need to make this choice over and over again, especially for deep hurts. After that, release the person who hurt you. This might involve a ritual like writing a letter that you don't send, expressing your feelings and your decision to forgive. Or you might visualize yourself cutting the cords that bind you to the painful situation. Finally, focus on the present and future. What have you learned from this experience? How can you use it to grow and become stronger? Remember, forgiveness is a process. It might not happen overnight, especially for deep wounds. Be patient and gentle with yourself, and know that it's normal to have setbacks. You might think you've forgiven someone, only to feel angry again when something triggers the memory. When this happens, just gently remind yourself of your decision to forgive and let go again. It's also important to note that forgiveness isn't just about forgiving others, it's also about forgiving ourselves. Often, we can be our own harshest critics, holding on to guilt and shame for past mistakes. But just as we deserve compassion from others, we deserve compassion from ourselves. Forgiving yourself can be one of the most liberating things you ever do. As you practice forgiveness, you might start to notice some changes in your life. You might feel lighter, more peaceful. You might find that your relationships improve as you let go of old grudges. You might even notice improvements in your physical health. After all, holding on to anger and resentment can create a lot of stress in our bodies. One powerful way to cultivate forgiveness is through meditation or prayer. You might visualize the person who hurt you and mentally send them thoughts of peace and well-being. This doesn't mean you approve of what they did. It's about freeing yourself from the negative connection to them. Another helpful practice is to reflect on times when you've hurt others and been forgiven. This can help us develop compassion and understanding, making it easier to forgive others. Remember, forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. It's about your healing, your peace, your freedom. It's about choosing to no longer let past hurts control your present and future. It's about breaking the chains that bind you to painful experiences and stepping into a life of greater peace and joy. So the next time you find yourself holding on to anger or resentment, remember this spiritual truth. Forgiveness sets us free. Take a deep breath, open your heart, and choose to let go. Your future self will thank you for it. Let's explore another powerful spiritual truth that has the potential to revolutionize your life. We create our own happiness. Now, at first glance, this might seem like a bold claim. After all, don't external circumstances play a big role in our happiness? Well, yes and no. Let's dive deeper into this fascinating concept. The idea that we create our own happiness is rooted in the understanding that happiness isn't something that happens to us, but rather something that comes from within us. It's not about what we have or what happens to us, but about how we perceive and respond to our experiences. Think about it this way. Have you ever known someone who seems to be happy no matter what life throws at them? Or conversely, someone who always finds something to complain about even when things are going well? These examples show us that happiness isn't solely dependent on external circumstances. It's largely about our mindset and attitude. Now, this doesn't mean that external events don't affect us. Of course they do. Losing a job, ending a relationship, or facing health challenges can be incredibly difficult. And it's natural and healthy to feel sad, angry, or frustrated in response to life's challenges. The key is understanding that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can control how we respond to it. So how do we actually create our own happiness? It starts with recognizing that happiness is a skill that we can develop, just like any other skill. It's not something we're born with or without. It's something we can cultivate and grow over time. One of the most powerful ways to create happiness is through gratitude. When we focus on what we're grateful for, we train our minds to notice the good things in our lives. This doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing to appreciate the good things, even in the midst of challenges. Try this. Each day, take a few minutes to write down 3 things you're grateful for. They can be big things, like your health or your family, or small things, like a delicious cup of coffee or a beautiful sunset. Over time, you'll find that you naturally start to notice more positive things in your life. Another key to creating our own happiness is learning to live in the present moment, which we discussed earlier. When we're constantly worrying about the future or regretting the past, we miss out on the joy that's available right now. Practicing mindfulness can help us fully experience and appreciate the present moment. It's also important to cultivate positive relationships. Humans are social creatures, and our connections with others play a huge role in our happiness. Invest time in nurturing your relationships with family and friends. Practice kindness and compassion. Surround yourself with people who support and inspire you. Physical self-care is another crucial aspect of creating happiness. Regular exercise, healthy eating, and getting enough sleep all contribute significantly to our mood and overall well-being. When we take care of our bodies, we're better equipped to handle life's challenges and enjoy its pleasures. Engaging in activities that bring you joy and fulfillment is also key. This might be pursuing a hobby, volunteering for a cause you care about, or simply taking time to relax and do things you enjoy. When we regularly engage in activities that bring us joy, we're actively creating our own happiness. Another powerful tool for creating happiness is reframing our thoughts. Our thoughts have a huge impact on our emotions. If we constantly tell ourselves negative stories about our lives or ourselves, we're likely to feel unhappy. But if we can learn to reframe negative thoughts into more positive or neutral ones, we can significantly impact our happiness. For example, instead of thinking, "I'm terrible at this," try, "I'm still learning and improving." Instead of, "This always happens to me," try, "This is a challenge, but I can handle it." It takes practice, but over time, this kind of reframing can dramatically shift your overall outlook and happiness. It's also important to set meaningful goals and work towards them. Having a sense of purpose and progress can contribute greatly to our happiness. These don't have to be grand, life-changing goals, although they can be. They can be small, daily goals or long-term aspirations. The key is to have something to work towards that aligns with your values and brings you a sense of fulfillment. Remember, creating our own happiness doesn't mean we'll be happy all the time. Life has its ups and downs, and it's normal and healthy to experience a range of emotions. The goal isn't to eliminate negative emotions, but to cultivate a general sense of well-being and contentment that can weather life's storms. It's also crucial to understand that if you're dealing with clinical depression or other mental health issues, professional help may be necessary. Creating our own happiness doesn't mean we have to do it all alone. Seeking help when we need it is an important part of taking care of ourselves. As you practice creating your own happiness, you might start to notice some changes. You might find yourself feeling more content, more resilient in the face of challenges. You might notice more moments of joy in your daily life. And you might find that your happiness starts to positively impact those around you. After all, happiness can be contagious. Remember, creating your own happiness is a journey, not a destination. It's something we practice every day in small ways and big ones. Some days will be easier than others, and that's okay. The key is to keep coming back to these practices, to keep choosing happiness, even when it's challenging. So the next time you find yourself thinking that you'll be happy when you get that promotion, or lose that weight, or find that perfect relationship, remind yourself of this spiritual truth. We create our own happiness. Your happiness is in your hands, right here, right now. What will you do to cultivate it today? As we come to the end of our exploration of these spiritual truths, let's take a moment to reflect on the incredible journey we've been on. We've delved into some profound ideas that have the power to completely transform the way we see ourselves, others, and the world around us. We started by recognizing that everything is connected, a truth that reminds us of our place in the vast, intricate web of existence. We then explored how our thoughts shape our reality, empowering us to create positive change in our lives through the power of our minds. We learned about the importance of living in the present moment, finding peace and fulfillment in the here and now, rather than constantly chasing after the future or dwelling in the past. We discovered that love is the most powerful force in the universe, capable of healing, transforming, and connecting us in profound ways. We came to understand that we're here to learn and grow, seeing life's challenges as opportunities for personal and spiritual development. We explored the liberating power of forgiveness, learning how letting go of resentment and anger can set us free. And finally, we recognized that we have the power to create our own happiness, shaping our experience of life through our attitudes, choices, and actions. These spiritual truths aren't just abstract concepts or nice ideas. They're practical tools that we can apply in our daily lives to create more peace, joy, and fulfillment. They offer us a new way of seeing the world and our place in it, a perspective that can help us navigate life's challenges with more grace and wisdom. Remember, embracing these truths is a journey, not a destination. It's something we practice every day, in small ways and big ones. Some days will be easier than others, and that's okay. The key is to keep coming back to these principles, to keep choosing love, forgiveness, presence, and happiness, even when it's challenging. As you go forward from here, I encourage you to reflect on these spiritual truths. Which ones resonate with you the most? How can you start incorporating them into your daily life? Maybe you'll start a gratitude practice or commit to living more in the present moment. Maybe you'll work on forgiving someone who has hurt you, or focus on spreading more love in the world. Whatever you choose, know that you're embarking on a beautiful and transformative journey. These spiritual truths have the power to not only change your life, but to ripple out and positively impact the world around you. Remember, you are a spiritual being having a human experience. You are connected to something greater than yourself. You have the power to shape your reality, to choose love, to forgive, to grow, and to create your own happiness. Embrace these truths, live them, and watch as your life transforms in amazing ways. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of spiritual truths. May your journey be filled with love, growth, and joy. Remember, the power to change your life is within you. It always has been. Now go out there and shine your light.